Fabrizio Romano,
Hello,
thank you
guys.
for joining us. How you doing, pal?
Hello, guys. Big pleasure to be with you.
What news have you got for us, man? We need to hear about the transfer news. What's going on? What's the movers and shakers? Yes, guys, we're back here with 5. We've got some unbelievable news today. Obviously, Frank Lampard has now left. We've been sacked by Chelsea. We're waiting to see who comes in. We've got Fabrizio Romano coming on, the man who talks all things transfers. So let's get it started, guys. Steve, listen, man, what a weekend it's been. We're going to get onto Man United. We can't talk about anything with football without talking Man United. Dispatching of Liverpool in the FA Cup. Frank Lampard as well, under a bit of pressure. See what happens there, and many more little news stories. But guys, how you doing? How's the weekend been for you?
I don't think he's under pressure anymore, our kid.
Well, yeah, gone.
I think that pressure's completely gone now. I reckon he's just... What do you reckon? What's the first move? In fact, I know you can text him and probably find this out, but what do you reckon the first move is? Get the phone call, roll, put your shit up, it's over. Then what do you do? Go home, make a brew, put the telly on.
Listen,
early night.
Talking of Frank, I've got to be honest. I don't think he'll be surprised. I think I know he's an intelligent fella. He would have understood the remit when he walked through that door, and he would have seen people like Carlo Ancelotti, he's got the third highest win rate in Premier League history behind Jose Mourinho and Sir Alex Ferguson, who got the sack a year after winning the league. So he's not going in there thinking he's going to have loads of time, but I think he would have expected maybe a bit more time, given the first time when he first went in there, the transfer window, the embargo on there. Then he gets money to spend. He spends over £200 million. And then you probably expect a little bit of time, or more than now, and more than what he's got, to bed them players in and for them players to become part of the furniture. But he has not been afforded that. And listen, this in the grand scheme of things, the way you feel that the reporting's been done about this, you'd think they're in a relegation dogfight. They're 5 points off Champions League, 11 points off Man United, who are top of the league. It ain't a million miles away. When he's had a bad spell, he's still only them amount of points behind. So when you put it in that context, I feel this is a very, very quick-fire decision. I feel we deserve more time. Yeah, knee-jerk reaction. But this isn't something that I think the Chelsea hierarchy, they're renowned for this. This is normal for them. So, and they make quick, brutal decisions. And on one hand, I respect that. Don't rally and they get things done. But on the other hand, it's Frank Lampard, a club legend, someone all the fans would have been clamoring for, especially the young players at the club. And you'd think that little bit of history he has there would have afforded him a little bit more time. But this is a results business, and this situation shows you that clear as you like.
Speaking of results, he had 57 games, 28 wins, 11 draws, and 18 losses in the Premier League. Now, he did get to the FA Cup final last year, beat Man United, of course, in the semis. What do you reckon, Rio? I know you've said that he could have seen it. He should have seen it in advance. I mean, just the way the game is. But with that record that I've just said, do you reckon that's the worst record you've ever seen?
I don't reckon it's the worst record you've ever seen, but it's not the standards that Chelsea set themselves over the years gone by. They're a club that wins trophies, and that's not the expectations that the hierarchy at that club expect, obviously aren't being met. And we're seeing in the papers that certain players weren't happy. Listen, there's always going to be disgruntled players at a football club, but it's then how you manage them. And has Frank managed them the right way? Has he not? That'll all come out in the wash, I'm sure. But you got to remember, there's people like Rudiger, part of a World Cup winning team, correct me if I'm wrong. Kepa, most expensive goalkeeper in the world, who have been taken out of the team when he first come there, and this season didn't start the season in this team. They're big players, big egos, and all these type of people have to be managed. And I'm really interested to see it and speak to Frank when I can, and find out how, why, what went wrong. And just the experience that he gained from this. And if he's really wants to continue in management, because it's brutal. This is brutal. There's no better example of how brutal this game is. And people always talk about loyalty. Don't talk to me about loyalty no more. I don't want to hear the word loyalty bandied around in football anymore, because it ain't there. It's not there from the club side and the player side. It's very few and far between where you see it.
Do you think it's strange as well? It's like when they've made some appointments like Ancelotti, Jose Mourinho, people where you go, right, what is that guy coming in for? And it's to bring in immediate success. it seemed to me with the focus that Lampard had gone with, and certainly the appointment of Lampard, it was to try and create something a bit more long-term at Chelsea. You can't do anything. I mean, I've enjoyed the memes, and I obviously enjoyed Chelsea not doing well. But I go, why do you appoint Lampard and expect him to have done? I mean, I do think you probably could have done a little bit better than he's done. But I think it's time. I don't know why people expect anyone to change anything in 19 months. Like, how many players have you played with that have been world-class players that didn't hit the ground running? I'm sure it's more than one.
Yeah, Sebastian Veron's one of them. He was an absolute world-class superstar, no doubts. Comes to Man United, doesn't hit the ground running, but then was obviously at Man United wasn't afforded the time. They shipped him out to Chelsea after a year, but second year, players come good. The first year you get me think, I'm not sure. And Nemanja Vidic, Patrice Evra. If Sir Alex Ferguson had dealt with them the way that someone like Frank Lampard's probably been dealt with here, they wouldn't be Man United legends. No chance. Because when they first come through the door, even I was sitting there going, who are these guys? They're rubbish. They're dry. Like me and Wayne Rooney used to sit there and go, what's happened? These guys, what's the gaffer buying? What's he seen here? Then give it a few months. Them boys are integral to us winning all what we did. So it's being given that time. Listen, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, if Man United did not give him the time that he's had, because everyone was clamoring up for him to get the sack. Joel, you was one of them. Get him out. He ain't good enough. Blah blah blah. But now Man United are sitting pretty top of the Premier League.
It's not the end of the season yet. It's
what?
not the end of the season, but you're right. It's not the end of the season, but I hear what you're saying.
Right.
Right. That in, man.
Wait. Right, we got a very good guest ready to join us. If you want to bring him in, please. Fabrizio Romano, thank you for joining us. How you doing, pal?
Hello, guys. Big pleasure to be with you. Really, thank you for the invitation. Thank you. I'm really happy. Really happy. Thank you.
What news have you got for us, man? We need to hear about the transfer news. What's going on? What's the movers and shakers?
The last one I was working on, to be honest with you, was about Papu Gomez joining Sevilla. It's a big news here in Italy and also in Spain, just because he's an amazing player, in my opinion. Bargain, just because they're paying him like 7 million euros. So I was working on this one. But obviously, we are talking about Chelsea and everything, the situation of Chelsea. I was listening to you. And it's a crazy situation, but they're going with Tuchel, and let's see what's going on.
Is Tuchel confirmed, or is that the one that...
Yes. 100% confirmed, yes. I think between today and tomorrow, they will announce him. Possible also today evening, and it's done, 100% done.
Well, what do you see in Tuchel? What do you see? What qualities does he bring?
In my opinion, he's a good manager. I have always had talks with people around Paris Saint-Germain. The situation with players and with stars of Paris Saint-Germain, and you know better than me that having players like Neymar and Mbappe is not so easy in the same dressing room. But he had a good relationship with the players. The main problem for Tuchel was with the board. He had many fights with the board, with Leonardo, because of the situation of the transfers. He wasn't so happy with some moves of the club. So he wanted something different. And when you have this kind of problem in top clubs, this is a big issue. So this was the problem. I hope that for him that the situation at Chelsea will be different with Marina, with Abramovich and everything on transfers, just because, as you know, the situation for Lampard wasn't so easy after signing 10 new players last summer, having this kind of season with no pre-season. So difficult to have normal trainings because you're playing like 3 days and 3 days. So it's not easy to go with a new team in this moment. But I hope that for him, the situation with the players will be good, and with the board in particular, because his biggest problem was with the board and with Leonardo, Paris Saint-Germain.
Goes back to my point about Frank Lampard being given time. Sorry, Joel. And it's like,
no, it's all right.
They give him the budget to go and sign players. He spends over £200 million. Can you expect everything to be perfect from day one when you have so many new players that come in the door? When that happens, my thinking is that the people that run the place will be thinking, actually, we need to give them time, because these players need to adapt to the new Premier League, new surroundings, new club. Under the panic circumstances as well, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. So we'll maybe give someone a little bit more time this time because of all of the things I've just mentioned. But that's not happened.
I totally agree with you. And knowing a bit the word of transfers, when you have a lot of new players and different players also, someone coming from Leicester, players coming from Paris Saint-Germain with the experience of Thiago, and then you had also young talents like Havertz and like Werner for the first time in a top club like Chelsea. it's really difficult to go together with this kind of mentality with new players. And you have always to remember, obviously, as I mentioned, that this season is crazy one. It's a crazy one. We see a lot of clubs in difficult situation because you didn't have any pre-season. You can't work with friendly matches. It's totally different. So this situation for Chelsea was really difficult. In my opinion, Frank was deserving to have a little bit more time. I was 100% sure that they were going to concede him a bit of more time, but the board was really disappointed with Frank. Really disappointed after the last matches. The understanding was around the club was, okay, Frank is out. Just because they were thinking to the next season, they had a dream of Nagelsmann from Leipzig, but it was impossible to have Nagelsmann right now in the middle of the season. We will see for Tuchel. In my opinion, was the best option right now, also because Allegri wasn't in the list, and I love Allegri as a manager, but he wasn't in the list. And good luck to Tuchel, because it won't be so easy, in my opinion.
So
I wonder how long he's going to last. The average lifespan of a manager at Chelsea is about 11 months, I think.
It's not great. So Fabrizio, I wanted to ask, what do you think his aim is then? Because Rio's talking about, he's nicely put that, it was a bit difficult. It was always going to be difficult for him. What are Chelsea expecting at the moment? Is he going to come in and, prepare and win the league next season, Champions League? What are they looking for at the moment?
I think winning the league next season is one of the options for sure, 100%, just because Roman wants to win the league. Roman wants to win the league again, so this is the possibility. And with the Champions League, it's not so easy. I think it's also like with single players work, After spending this money on Timo Werner, on Kai Havertz, they were expecting something different from this player. So going for a German manager like Thomas Tuchel in Chelsea area could help these players to have a better performances, because in this moment they were not at their level. I saw playing many times these guys in the Bundesliga and the Europa League when they were last season in German football, and they were totally different. Now they need time, because as you know better than me, in the Premier League is totally different. We're talking about another world, so it's not easy after 6 months having your best performances after you arrive in a top club like Chelsea. But they expect something different, not just about the results, as you mentioned, so winning the league next season and planning to go also with a different style in the Champions League, with your football, with your style. They missed something of this. In the last month, Chelsea was not imposing their football. They were playing something like defense, restarting, but it was not something amazing as Roman was expecting. And for sure, about single players, it will be the key, in my opinion, for Tuchel. They expect something different from Werner and Havertz, because spending 150 million euro this summer with top clubs not spending any money, because we have to remember also this, Real Madrid are not signing any player, Barcelona are the same, here in Italy almost the same. So all top clubs are stopping, they were spending, and these players are not performing. And this is a huge problem. They expect something different.
Back on the transfers for a sec, Fabrizio. Oh, go on, Rio, what are you saying?
So Fabrizio,
sorry?
You've thrown me there. What was I going to say? Yeah, sorry, Fabrizio. So, do you have any inside knowledge about? We've seen reports this morning in India about players being disgruntled and being unhappy with Frank. Do you have any inside information on that?
For sure, there was some player unhappy with Frank. Yes, he had some problems with the players. Yes, he wasn't convinced that some player was totally with him in particular in the last 2 months. In the last 2 months, he had this feeling with some players that something was going to change, and they were not so happy. Better than me, that when you are in these top clubs, this kind of things can happen. So it's normal in football when the club is not going at the best level, and we are talking about Chelsea. It's normal. It's totally normal that this can happen. So he had this feeling. Yes, I also had this news that he had this feeling that 2 or 3 players, important players, were convinced about this project and were pushing for Frank to be out from Chelsea. Yes.
Wow. I've never heard of a player going to the board and saying the manager's not good enough. We need to get him out.
Probably it wasn't so direct. But you know better than me that when you talk and when you show also on trainings, they weren't so convinced, and also on the pitch. You had this feeling also on the pitch, in my opinion, that some players wasn't 100% convinced of what are we doing. So this kind of feelings, also because Frank was a bit nervous. Also in the last press conference, you saw when he was against journalists from The Athletic, wasn't so nice. It wasn't in Frank's style. He was just nervous. We can understand, because it's normal when you're going to be sacked, and he knew about. He was already close to be sacked 1 week ago, so he knew about the situation. But also the situation with the players was not the best one for him. But it's not with all the team, but with some players, yes.
Fabrizio, back on transfers for a second. Paul Pogba's recently been in the news, seemingly a little bit happier at Manchester United, seeing as though we're winning everything. Is there any chance of him signing a renewed contract at United, or do you expect him to either be sold in the summer, as Raiola mentioned, or do you think he could even run down his contract? Because I see pretty much those three options are the only things that he can do.
It's a crazy situation, and I have to be honest with you, because I wasn't expecting this kind of situation. After Mino spoke, he immediately started to perform as the best player of Manchester United, after Bruno, obviously, but one of the best. So I wasn't expecting this kind of situation, just because Mino is still working to get an important team for Paul Pogba next summer. So he's still working for Pogba to leave the club next summer. Then I would say there is a chance. I would say always yes, because in football, you know better than me that everything can happen. The situation now is totally different. So who knows? It's possible in the coming months, Manchester United will try again. At the moment, the situation is absolutely the same as in December. So talking about what's going on today is the same situation, with Mino pushing to have Pogba in another club and with no intention of signing a new contract. But let's see if Manchester United will try again in the coming months. I hope yes, because looking at Paul performing like this, it's a pity to see Paul in another club. Also because, you know, next summer won't be so easy to find an agreement, also with only 1 year of contract. So Manchester United, also about the price, won't be in an easy situation of negotiating with Mino Raiola. He's already talking with Juventus. Paul's dream is to play for Real Madrid, as he always mentioned. At the moment with Paris Saint-Germain, we have many rumors, but there is nothing advanced yet. So these are the clubs. Juventus and Real Madrid, in my opinion, at the moment, for sure, the clubs are talking about this situation, but no one is planning for an official bid yet. And I hope for Manchester United the situation can change, but at the moment, the reality right now is that Pogba is still planning to leave the club.
Do we think COVID might have affected the prices that clubs are willing to pay both this month and in the summer?
100%. Yes, just because also about the salaries, you know. I was speaking with people around Juventus. They have important salaries here in Italy. Imagine like Ronaldo is having like 30 million euro after taxes per season, and De Ligt is having 15 million euro after taxes per season. So that's important wages, and they have to change. They know they have to change, and it's impossible to go with Pogba talking and going for a 15, 18, 20 million euro per season after taxes. It's impossible today for Juventus. They need to change. And also, when you mentioned about the negotiation with Manchester United, I was told from Juventus people that they offered, like last April, they offered like 2 players, like Douglas Costa and Miralem Pjanic, and Manchester United told them, we don't want players, we just want money or nothing. Paul stays here. And also in December, when we had some rumors about the situation of Pogba, they were saying we can try only with swap deals. We can't spend today 100 million euro for one single player. It's impossible because of the pandemic and everything, and also with the salary situation. So it won't be so easy, in my opinion. It would be interesting also to see about the price, because Manchester United always say we want 100 million euro, but with only 1 year of contract, you have the serious risk of losing this player for free again after what you did with Pogba in the past. So it's a dangerous situation, but I'm sure that they will go for a clear strategy in some months, just because they can't lose this kind of player for free again.
Is a Sancho deal dead in the water, or do you think there's any sort of movement on the horizon with him, not specifically Manchester United, but seemingly not enjoying life at Dortmund at the moment?
It's not just like this. He's been really respectful last summer. I have to be honest, also talking with people around Sancho, I always mentioned that he had an agreement with Manchester United, and it was also confirmed by Borussia Dortmund people finally after 3 months denying everything. but he had an agreement with Manchester United. He wanted to join Manchester United. He was ready to join Manchester United. And he was one step away, really, just because at the end of July, the agreement was really close. It was just about installments and everything. Then the deal collapsed. And I think next summer, in my personal opinion, Jadon Sancho will leave Borussia Dortmund. It's the time to leave the club. He needs to be in a top club. Also because you know that when young talents are in the same club for many years, you have also the risk of not changing is a problem for some talents. Arriving in a top club is important for this kind of player. Imagine like Bruno moving to Manchester United was like perfect for him. So also Sancho has this kind of feeling. I have to go in a top club. So I think next summer he will go. Also because Borussia Dortmund will go to sell one player. I don't expect both Haaland and Sancho to leave, but one, yes, for sure. Haaland will have a release clause in the coming summer, so in 2 years he will have a release clause for 75 million euro, and for sure in this case he will leave the club. But next summer I expect Sancho to leave. And yes, Manchester United are in the race for sure. They have to decide. Obviously, in March, in April, they will decide for a strategy for next summer, and for sure, Sancho will be part, in my opinion, of these ideas, just because he had an agreement, so he would be ready. But let's see if other clubs will join the race, because we're talking about the top talent. It's true that this Bundesliga season wasn't so easy for him. He had mind about Manchester United and Premier League, so it wasn't so easy. But he's been so respectful with the club, so he's just waiting for next summer, and then he will leave.
Nah, that's good. If you've got 5 minutes, I wanted to say, sticking on the Sancho topic for a sec. Is it going to be for the same price you reckon Dortmund are going to want to sell him for? Because it was like over 100 million last season.
120 million euro. Yes, it was 120 million euro, and at the moment, Borussia Dortmund say there is no price right now, just because in January it was impossible to negotiate with Dortmund for any player, typical from German clubs. But next summer, really, to be honest, I don't know yet, just because Dortmund are not talking about it. But it's possible the situation will change. I would say yes, just because of the pandemic and everything. I can't imagine. Also, when I talk with agents, with directors, they say, we don't know next summer what kind of world we will have in front of. Just because in this moment, they can't plan for anything on the transfers, because we don't have people in the stadium. We don't have anything from merchandising, from the sponsor. It's a difficult situation for top clubs, because they're paying top salaries to the players, but they are not having any money. So they are losing a lot of money because of this situation, and they can't plan for next summer. So if Borussia Dortmund will go for a different price, we will see. But they always said 120 million euro. Also, when Manchester United proposed to do let's do 80 million euro with some add-ons to arrive to 100 million euro, this kind of deal. At the start of summer, like in July, they were open to this kind of situation. Then in August, they said, no, we just want 120 million euro guaranteed immediately. And it was impossible for Manchester United. Also in this kind of situation with the pandemic, obviously.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Fabrizio. Nice to meet you first and foremost. Really good to speak to you.
Rio,
Thank you.
You're forgetting one thing, Rio. You're forgetting one thing. One of the best decisions that a young player is making, potentially moving to Arsenal. Martin Odegaard. Sorry.
It's done, It's done.
It's done.
Yes, it's done. He's signing the contracts now, having medicals and everything. Yes, I think in some hours it will be official. Interesting deal, just because I like this player. I'm just curious to see him in the Premier League, just because, by the physical part, in my opinion, he needs to improve a bit by his part. As Amad Diallo with Manchester United, we're talking about top talents, but they need by the physical part to be ready for the Premier League. It's totally different from La Liga and from Serie A. Totally different. I was working, for example, with Atalanta, looking at some matches for Amad Diallo. Exciting talent, top skills, amazing player, but the physical part, he needs to improve. He needs to work. So for me, it's the same for Odegaard. It's a big opportunity for him with Arsenal, obviously, but give him some time. He won't be ready immediately. Give him some weeks. Premier League is another word, but for sure, top talent. I'm so happy with Arsenal just because we can see these guys playing. He wasn't playing with Real Madrid, so it's right for him to go and to play in an important club like Arsenal. Is so good.
That's all I wanted to know, mate. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, cheers, Fabrizio. Nice to see you again. Make sure you go and check out where Fabrizio's work. Give him a follow on Twitter. He's the only one worth following when it comes to a transfer window.
Thank you, guys. Really, be a pleasure. I hope to be with you again soon. Thank you. Really.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
United had a pretty good weekend, didn't it, Rio?
Yeah, it was lovely, mate. Beautiful. Just sat down with my two boys and just watched the game, took it in, and just it was lovely. With a bad start, obviously, Salah with a Salah goal, but I think Man United, what I'm loving about them at the moment is the character, the mental side of it. Yeah, they've gone behind, no panic, and they seem very at ease in the way that they're playing football. I saw Ollie's comments after the game. We found a way of playing now, and that we're enjoying and we're seeing the results and the benefits from. So it takes time. We look back at the Frank Lampard situation. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been given time. He's got the players in. He's got the players that he wants at the moment. Yes, I'm sure he wants to be more active in the transfer market again, but he's got a select group of players that he seems very happy with at the moment, who are understanding all of the ideas that he's put into them in the training ground, and they're coming off in the games now. And I think Cavani can't be underplayed in what he's added in terms of a mentality more than anything. This guy knows how to win leagues, albeit not in his country, but he's committed. He's very, very, very sure on how he knows how to win things, given what he's done at PSG. And listen, at the end of the day, it's took him a while to work out the midfield of who he likes in them. But McTominay is obviously a mainstay now. And Paul Pogba, who's been the conundrum for every manager that's been there so far. Ollie seems to have unlocked something within Paul Pogba, and he's getting the best out of him in the last month, 6 weeks. He's now starting to produce the goods on a regular basis, and you can see what a player is. All anyone's been asking for with Paul Pogba is consistency of performance, and now we're getting it, and we're seeing the fruits. So it's great.
I thought it was a real mature performance yesterday from Pogba. There was like real intelligence to his play. Like against Liverpool, I think sometimes people get panicked and go, we have to get the ball forward as quick as humanly possible. And actually, he did that, but he also did playing it back to defense and just keep hold of the ball and just let's not rush into blind alleys. And I was just impressed with like the leadership of him yesterday more than anything else.
I think he showed yesterday his experience. We forget this guy's played on the biggest stage, won the World Cup, played for Juventus, one of the biggest teams in Italy. He's not someone who's just coming out of the blue and doesn't understand big game scenarios. And Liverpool versus Man United is one of the biggest games in the fixture list for Man United. So he understands that. Yes, it's without fans, but what I've wanted personally from Paul Pogba, which I think has been missing from me on a regular basis, is playing the ball quick. All of the bad clips that you saw about Paul Pogba or the bad performances all revolved around taking too many touches and inviting tackles and inviting pressure. Whereas now, people aren't getting close to him. And that's the Paul Pogba I know from a kid. Get the ball, play quick, and when it has to get physical, he can deal with it because he's big enough and he's quick enough to get out of it, and he's got a trick. So add that to being able to play 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch before anyone comes. He looks an absolute world beater. And then if he maintains this, I feel again I'll go out there early and say I think Man United will win the league if he continues in this form, because I think he's that important to Manchester United.
It's funny that you're talking about how good he was. When you're looking at the numbers, they're not lying either. Paul Pogba versus Liverpool, 100% long pass accuracy, 100% aerial duels won, 83% pass accuracy, 69 touches in total, 3 interceptions. I mean, honestly, what an amazing goal as well. The guy was on fire, you know. I'm talking in the league in general, of course, but against Liverpool, also fantastic. It's very, very mature stuff going on. You're right.
Yeah, and he's playing deeper in a deeper position against a top 6 side. And a lot of people, he can't play deep. He does it for France. He's done it for France. Do you know what I mean? He can do it if you put the right infrastructure around the right players. Top players will perform. But I just feel in the past, this has not been done. I think he's been to blame at times, but also the people that have been managing him tactically have probably got it wrong as well. And we're seeing now they've got the right balance, and he's definitely benefiting. And I think Bruno the same. People doubt Bruno against the top 6 teams. I think he's scored or assisted against every top 6 team now since he's been here. So his output against the good teams and the average and the lower teams is fantastic. And that balance his team's got now, and I think McTominay is a huge part of it. His drive, his determination, I think he's a big voice in that training ground as well, is very important. And so in terms of, he's not as good as a Pogba or a Bruno on the eye, he brings other things to the table, which are very valuable as well.
Do you think there's a chance that Pogba stays? I know we were talking about this last night a little bit, and I already know your answer, but for the audience, do you think that he would stick around, or do you think, like Fabrizio was saying, Raiola's working on making this exit happen, Juventus are working on making it happen, but if United don't want to accept a fee, do you see him running his contract down? How do you see this playing out?
I don't know, but all I know, whenever I've spoke to Paul Pogba is happiest when he's playing football on a regular basis, when he's playing consistently, when he's playing good football, and when he's winning. He's a happy person. And Man United right now must be a happy place for Paul Pogba to be. So for him to leave to go somewhere else, if they win the league as well, I think it'll be very difficult for him to walk out. I think a new contract will probably be on the table, and for him to walk away from that at the start of something that he was very committed to when he walked through the door, he wanted to come here and win things and get Man United back on track to winning. I think he's the type of person who'd want to continue that and create a legacy at this football club, because at this moment in time, if Paul Pogba leaves at the end of this season, even if they win the league, he hasn't created the legacy that he would have wanted to walking through that door.
Does he risk that though? Because it could all be down to how long Solskjaer stays, right? Because it's very obvious that Paul, he's a special type of character. He is who he is. And Ollie seems to be getting the best out of him. Do you think that also depends on if Solskjaer stays?
If he stays,
Man United,
30 years,
Man
Joel,
United
what you
win
on
the
about?
league, he's not going nowhere if he wins the league.
6 weeks ago, you know what I mean? You lot locked out of the Champions League. Everyone was crying and that. So
Who was crying?
Oh, come on, don't do this.
Who's stupid with a finalist and a semi-finalist? You expected us to get out, Joe. This is why you're an Arsenal fan, mate. You're clueless.
Yeah, okay, cool. 6 weeks ago, you know, all rubbing your eyes and that, yeah. Now all of a sudden, he's the best man on the planet. You know, fair dues, he's done very well. But do you think if Solskjaer was to go, maybe obviously not this season, but would that affect, you know, his feeling for Man United, even if he does sign a new contract?
I think, mate, he's about winning. If Man United are winning and Ollie gets a sack, I think it's about Paul's about what I'm winning, what I'm capable of doing here. And I think, let's not get it twisted. Every player that walks through the door at a football club wants to leave their name etched into the fabric of the football club by the time I leave. When I signed for Man United, that was part of my press conference. That was what I said. I want to be able to leave this club with my head held high, and I've done something to affect the history of this club, and that will mean winning things. Paul Pogba's no different. He'll be the same. He's made up of the same stuff, 100%. He's won before at Juventus with France. He wants to do that with Man United. That's why he's here, to play Champions League football and win Premier Leagues.
And you got him this week?
Yeah, man. I'm speaking to Paul. Got him tomorrow. I'm going to speak to him, try and get into his ribs about how he's doing, his form, signing a new deal. If it's on the table, will he sign it or not? No, I just want to see how he's doing, man. See that smile again, because it's been a long time since we've consistently seen him smiling. So it's good.
On that, let's talk about this, right? Because one of the most iconic scenes for me from 2008 is your absolute deadpan face looking at the crowd. Was you looking at the Believe mural in 2008?
Say again.
Captain's armband on. Coming out for the Champions League final 2008. You've just got an absolute screensaver face on. There's no emotion in there whatsoever. Are you staring at something? Are you staring at the mural?
No, I was staring just into space, really, because you know what? When you walk out of the tunnel, the trophy's there. And I've always never, ever wanted, I think it was bad luck, superstitious, whatever it was, not to even look at the trophy or touch it or anything like that. So I was just dead focused on getting out of there and getting past that trophy, if I'm honest. But it was just to see that the sea of red. When you go out and you see all of our fans there, man, you can't put that into words, what that means when you see all the fans there. And that's why I feel for the players now and the fans, because they can't be a part of it. And when I played, I fed off the fans. Even I remember playing against Arsenal. I think it was in the Champions League semi-final when Ronaldo scored that unbelievable free kick. Or was it quarter-final, semi-final, the Emirates? I remember in the warm-up, the Arsenal fans giving me absolute pelters. There was one guy, you know, you could hear one voice coming out of the stand, and he was drilling me. And I remember when we scored, I ran straight over there, straight over to where he was, and was just giving him loads in the stand. So that type of stuff, man, players feed off that. The fans love it. The players love it. That's a big part of the game that's gone, man.
Did you ever play in a behind closed doors game? Because there was a couple, Eastern Europe had a couple closures, didn't they? But I don't know if we ever played in those.
No, I
never played in them, no.
No, I played in a couple of friendlies, like in a stadium in, I think it might have been in Dubai, no, in Qatar, when they were testing an aircon filled stadium. We done like a practice match, but it wasn't. You just think, I couldn't imagine playing today, man. In the way if to do it, I understand, but I really feel for the players, man. I just think it's just so, it's a killer, man, having no fans there, because they build it up. The fans create such an atmosphere that's part of why you play as well.
So how fun would yesterday have been winning it in the manner that we won it against Liverpool at Old Trafford versus what it's like when, you know, there's 120 reporters there instead?
Yeah, now imagine Old Trafford last night. It would have been absolutely bouncing. Leaving the stadium, people would have been going bananas. And they're a lot of the memories. When I look back on my career now, a lot of my memories, obviously about winning stuff, but it's also about the fan element. Like where we celebrated with fans, like in the Grapes pub in Manchester, little rundown pub you'd never imagine the Man United team to be in, but we used to go there every time we'd won something, or Christmas party. And all of us around, yes, with the lads, but also with the fans. And that's just been stripped away from these guys. And it's going to be a year now or 2 years, it could be almost, where the players miss that completely.
You see, when you're talking about emotions, Rio, yeah, what's the team talk looking like in a game against Liverpool? You as a captain, what are you saying to the guys, like word for word? I mean, obviously, I'm sure there's some colorful language in there and stuff like that, but what are you saying to the boys, man?
You know what? I think all captains are very different. You had some captains like Tony Adams was someone who would just be shouting loads of stuff, really loud and stuff before they go out, trying to G the team up. I was very much about small, sharp messages to individual players. And especially if I saw a weakness in their team, like Wazza, listen, that centre-half, he's slow on a turn. Get in behind him as much as you can. Play on his shoulder. Little information. Or always with Wazza, to be fair, used to be shoot on sight. That's it. Because he used to love passing sometimes, and I used to want him to be a bit more selfish at times. Even though he broke all these records, I used to still think he could be more selfish. Or Nani, assist, goals. I want assists and goals today. Like short, too much information sometimes gives people blurred messages and confuses a lot of people. Added to the fact that there's the emotional element, the fans, everything that goes with a game, the pressure. Too much information kills people sometimes. So yeah, I used to have a ritual of going around every player and just saying a short message like that to everyone, just quick before we went out for the whistle went just to go outside.
We've spoke about you wanting to get back into the coaching game with United, and obviously they've brought in loads of former players of late. How far have you got down with your coaching badges?
I've not completed my badges. I was doing it all while as I was retiring, and then obviously a few personal issues happened, and I've never really got back into it. So it's not something that's on my agenda right now, to be honest with you. But I'm enjoying what I'm doing at BT with us here on 5 on the YouTube channel as well, and other stuff. So, and obviously family for me at the moment is the focal point.
But they're not even running courses at the moment. Like, I'm trying to get on the courses and they're just not doing them.
No, but there's loads of my mates who I played with and stuff are all going. They're all in the same boat, and loads of my friends now are becoming coaches or playing different roles within different clubs, technical directors, etc. So there's so much out there for people to do. If you put your mind to it, there's opportunity there. If you can get your foot in the door somewhere.
We didn't really cover this earlier with Frank getting the boot at Chelsea, but I wanted to talk on the why. Why has it not gone right? Is it a lot down to that blend of players bedding in? Is it experience on Frank's part? Where do you see what's gone wrong here? Or was it literally just a case of it's a killer's row in the Premier League at the moment and he just needed time?
Listen, when you sign that many players that he did in the transfer window, surely that needs and requires time. You need time to get them players to bed in, to get them to understand the culture at the football club, to get them to understand your messages as a manager, what you want from them as an individual, what you want them as part of their team, moving into a different country, a different culture again. There's so many different parts of becoming someone who can adapt to life in a new country and a new football club. There's so many different elements and layers to it that I just don't think that it was realistic to expect Frank to be fighting at the top of the league immediately to win the league. And I think he said that immediately when he got in there, that at the beginning of this season, to expect Chelsea in the position that they're in, given they had an embargo on the last transfer window, and they've recruited a lot of players this window and spent a lot of money, to expect them to be trying to win the league would be foolish. And they're only 5 points. Yes, they're 9th, but they're 5 points off of the Champions League positions right now. So I just really do feel it's quick. It's a quick decision made, man.
You can say that, but £222 million spent in the transfer window, right? Your main guys,
Havertz and
16 appearances, 1 goal, 2 assists. You know, Timo Werner, yes, he's had a few goals, but the impact obviously hasn't been what we thought it was going to be. Do you think the issue is not necessarily the league position, but the fact that the players are not really playing for him the way they should?
If you're playing devil's advocate, if Werner and Havertz had scored 8-9 goals each, they wouldn't be 9th. So how much of that is down to Lampard and how much of that is down to the players themselves?
It's a results business, though, House. So,
but are you getting rid of the wrong guy?
But the buck stop. Well, they're not going to get rid of 22 million pounds worth of players, but the buck stops with the manager, right?
Yeah, it does. I agree with Joe. It does. The buck does stop with the manager. But again, it comes down to, I think, realism. Are you expecting all these players to be performing 9 and 10 out of 10 to their full capacity, full potential immediately? It's not realistic to expect that. It isn't. And yes, Havertz hasn't performed to the levels that we expected him. Werner hasn't been as consistent as we'd have expected him. Ziyech has been injured a fair bit. Pulisic is coming back from injury now. Do you know what I mean? Their best performer in terms of their recruitments that they've brought in has been Thiago Silva, who's near on my age. Tells you that it hasn't gone completely right in terms of the transfers. Ben Chilwell. And I believe all of these signings that he's brought in are exciting signings who will become good. But they're being afforded time. Frank isn't. So it's very different for a player than it is for a manager these days. And what I would say is that, yeah, listen, Frank's my mate. I grew up with him. We played football together. He understands this is a results-driven game, and a club he's at, Chelsea, which is the club that he loves, he's played under numerous managers throughout his career. So he knows under no uncertain terms that he wasn't going to get a long time in a job. He had to prove himself immediately. So I don't think he'll be too surprised in what's happened. Yes, he'll be disappointed. He'll be gutted. His pride will take a little bit of a beating, a dent, but he's not going to be surprised that this has happened. I feel we may even have expected it, given what the situation is at the moment at Chelsea. So, and listen, they're saying now Tuchel's coming in from he was the former PSG manager. I was lucky enough to meet this guy and had a good interview and conversation off of the camera as well with him at the training ground in Paris. And I have to say he's one of the most impressive individuals in terms of management that I've ever been with.
Why?
It is to achieve the detail in which he used to go about things, even just the little details, the little 1%ers, the little half percenters, like changing the time of training because he had so many South Americans. So he changed the time of training to suit their lifestyle a little bit. So they're not going to be phoning home at like 3 a.m. and coming to training jaded. So he made the training a little bit later in the afternoon. Just little things like that to the naked eye, people think, oh, it's only a little change of time. But for the culture of the football club and the ambience within the training ground and the players responding to that, actually he cares about how we are and our culture and where we're from and stuff. That goes a long way with players. And just little details like that. And just he's how we saw certain individuals, his ideas on honing and helping maturity of someone like Kylian Mbappe, one of the best, if not the best, young player in the world, and that experience. And he was part of a project. I know he didn't finish it, but he was part of a project on a road to developing a new training ground and then seeing the results and how much of a lift that would give the team and stuff. And obviously he didn't get to play that out, but I think I was worried about him at one time. I watched his team play at Anfield, Paris Saint-Germain, and their attacking players were horrendous in terms of their work ethic off the ball. And I thought, wow, these guys are going to get him the sack. He turned it round. Again, they won the league, which happens with every manager there, but they had a fantastic run. They got the furthest they've ever got in the Champions League, which is to the final. Yes, they got beat, but he got these players, world-class players, big ego players, performing. And that's a hard job, and any manager in the game will tell you that.
That change of time thing, I've often thought about that, because you see, let's say La Liga teams, they're often playing at the same sort of time as Champions League games are. Their league matches are all that time. They don't have any like lunchtime kickoffs like we do. What's the effect like on you as an athlete in terms of your sleep patterns when you're, because at United, you train at 10 o'clock-ish every day?
Yeah.
So we train at
very
10,
hard. Nemanja Vidic used
3, 5, 10.
Nemanja Vidic used to go bananas, like especially Liverpool games. Used to play at 12:30, 1 o'clock, and he used to go. And a lot of us are the same. You got to have a pre-match meal, loads of food, carbs, your pastas, etc. at like 9:30 in the morning. It's so difficult, and people go eating food, but it's difficult to. You got to take all that food down. It's like fuel to be able to go and perform. But your body clock doesn't want to take that food. It's resisting that food. It's making you feel sick. But you've got to get it in. Otherwise, you can't perform. So it is very difficult. And the difference in times, we all as players, we just want either the 3 o'clock kickoff in the afternoon and the 7:30 at night time for a midweek game, Champions League or whatever it is. And they were brilliant back in the day. But nowadays, you can have 3-4 different kickoff times over the course of 4 games. But I mean, I spoke to Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson a while back, and they were saying that their training times change according to the games that are coming up. So they've changed. If they've got an evening game, sometimes they train later in the day. That will be similar to what their kickoff time will be. So some managers, I think, are already doing that as well.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. You see, like boxers, UFC fighters, they switch their entire training camp so that they're doing most of their hard work at whatever their walkout time is going to be. So it prepares their body for weeks in advance. I can't imagine having like a 10-hour shift in when your kickoff times is on a regular basis. It is good for players and all the different rhythms of your body and that.
Well, when we used to go away Champions League, we would train at the stadium the night before, at similar time to when the game will be kicked off. But that's just one night quickly. So just to get yourself adjusted a little bit. But yeah, I understand that. It's just obviously making it happen as a club. It's a lot of organising that goes into it.
Back on Tuchel then. Tuchel's outperformed pretty much every single where he's gone. I think his time at Dortmund was arguably a little bit more impressive than his time at Paris for obviously competition reasons. But even at Augsburg, and even to a degree at Mainz when he was there, he's outperformed every single place that he's gone. If he outperforms to the same, I mean, you look at his last 2 win percentages, 78% win percentage at PSG. Obviously, Champions League finalist. 70% win ratio at Dortmund. These are incredible rates. If he gets anything like that at Chelsea, he's the greatest manager they've ever had.
I think one thing you have to say about Tuchel is regardless of he's been at PSG, where almost like they wipe the floor of everyone in that league, but Dortmund as well and the clubs previously, he knows how to win. He knows how to get players playing for him. When you speak to any, I spoke Buffon, played under some great managers in his time, obviously. He spoke so glowingly about Tuchel, about, again, his attention to detail, his care of the players, his ideas, the way he manages players as individuals. He said he's fantastic. He said he couldn't speak highly enough of him. And so this guy, when you speak to all the players, they love him, but also he knows how to get results. And it seems to me, I think Chelsea, they've gone this route. They've got German players there that have been invested in heavily with Havertz and Werner. Now they've got a German manager to go and see that through now. Now they've given Frank the sack.
Go on then, Joel. You want to talk about your little football team signing a player on loan, do you?
Mate, we don't need to give the little football team. To be honest with you, I don't think Arsenal is that much of a topic this week. Besides the fact
the day you hear me say that I don't think Man United are much of a topic, let's move on. You can get me off this station, get me off this channel right away.
Listen. It's all about, you know what I mean? What do you want to talk about? What, the FA Cup? The FA Cup game, you know?
No, let's talk about the decision-making of the kid that you've just signed. You went to Real Madrid at 16 and thought it was a good idea. Yeah, now he thinks going to Arsenal's a good idea. Someone needs to get an arm around him.
Obviously, that weren't a good idea, but we're sitting here with someone who probably believed himself at the age of 16 as well. If you got given a chance to go to Real Madrid at 16, Rio, would you have gone yes or no?
Depends who other offers were. But yeah, listen, it's a hard thing to turn down. Listen, I've heard about this kid for a long time now, and he had a good loan spell in Spain. Was it at Sociedad or someone like that? Or Valladolid? Where did he go? Sociedad.
Sociedad killed it. Yeah, it was really good.
Done really well. Yeah. So he got the potential of 100%. It's about someone like Mikel Arteta unlocking that. And I think that this kid's a talent. There's no doubt in that. But he's got to find a home now. And this, hopefully, Arsenal, I want him to do well. And I think Arteta's got a reputation when he was at City and now here at Arsenal of getting the best out of young players. And hopefully that follows true with this player.
But it's only it's a 6-month loan deal from what I'm hearing, with no option to buy. So it's a bit of a weird one, if I'm honest with you. And also the position in which he's playing seems to me like he'll be playing in Emile Smith-Rowe's position. So I don't really know how that works. What's your thoughts?
That's the only thing that worries me. If he comes in and he takes someone like Emile Smith-Rowe's position, I'll be devastated, because he's come in and done unreal things. I mean, the way he's played, he's been a breath of fresh air at Arsenal, I'm sure. The fans it was there at the stadium going crazy about him. And I think he brings assists, he brings a calmness to the way you guys play. He's a type of player who probably could have played over a number of generations at Arsenal in the way that he plays football. So I hope he doesn't come and kind of stunt his growth within the team, because he's been really good the last few weeks.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate that we're not going to be progressing further with the rest of the teams this week and this year in the Forever Arsenal Cup. But as you guys know, with our record, we'll be back real soon.
Oh, that's good. Like to hear it. Yes, guys, that's a wrap. It's been great talking with you guys, man. Love doing this every week. But listen, we need some feedback, man. Obviously, we want to get a name for this podcast, for this YouTube show that we're doing. We're still searching for that. But also, what's your thoughts on Tuchel, the new guy coming in? Do you think he's a good or a thumbs down? Let us know, man. Pogba, should he sign? Should he go? Let us know, guys.